Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of Eye on Icon. As always, I am your co-host Fez, and I have with me ICONOGRAPHER. How you going, ICONOGRAPHER?
Pretty well. How about yourself?
Yeah, great, great. Well, today we are going to introduce a little bit of a new format, changing a few things up. So, what we're going to aim to do is release our interviews with whoever we get on the show as a separate episode, and then we will also do another episode where we do a bit of the breakdown of the daily news, the weekly news, and depending on what's going on, we'll do a slight breakdown straight after the news as we were traditionally doing. And we are also going to introduce another smaller episode, which is bringing to light a lot of the CPS proposals that are in the system that are currently up to get voted on. And we'll have the people on our show to actually talk through what their proposal is and their ideas and give a bit of a breakdown so everyone can really hear what's going on in the Icon ecosystem and what is being pitched to be built on our great platform. Um, so
And I think this is something we're kind of experimenting with, and obviously, the podcast is still relatively new, and we're just trying to make sure we're delivering stuff that people find relevant and helpful. But obviously, this is going to be, I think, on net more content as well. But please let us know what you think of kind of this, a little bit of tinkering. Let us know if you like, as we release a few episodes, give us feedback. Let us know if you like the new format. Let us know if we can change different things. Whatever ideas you guys have for the podcast, because it is made for the community. We're certainly all ears.
couldn't agree more. And so today we're excited to have Kevin from Icon Nation and another guest that is a regular on our show, Iconographer. Do you want to tell us why I'm introducing y'all in this way?
Yeah, so I think we released some news today. A new project. It's called Equality. It is a automated market maker that is built and specializes in trading stablecoins. So I imagine if you're listening to this by now, you've probably either read the Medium article about it, maybe read the white paper, certainly, hopefully, maybe hopped in our Telegram room or whatever it might be. But beyond that content, we also had a little bit of chat between myself and Kevin, also known as Radiofriendly, to those of you who have seen him on various social channels, and he's been around on Icon forever. So just, we want to talk a bit more about the project, provide some more information, kind of explain a few different things. So yeah, I'm serving in two roles on this episode as both a co-host and a guest as well.
Excellent. Look, let's dive in. It's jam packed full of information, and I am very excited about this project and can't wait for it to launch. And so, let's jump straight in. Okay, Iconographer, why don't you tell us who we have on the show today?
Sure. Today we have Kevin Newby, but you probably know him better as Radio Friendly. He's been involved in the Icon community for as long as I can remember, and I think pretty much since the beginning. He's also the co-founder of Icon Nation, which is one of the leading P-Rep teams. They've been in the top five for basically since the start of things. I think that's changed a little bit since then, but they're still certainly one of the better known P-Reps. So welcome, Kevin.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. I'm a big fan of the show. I love tuning in and checking out the show. I usually tune in and check it out on Tuesday or Wednesday mornings when I'm working, depending on when it comes out. So you guys do a great job. I've really enjoyed the shows that you've had, the guests that you've had. So it's fun to be in the guest chair here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, certainly. And we'll Kevin and I have been working on this project. It's called Equality. By now, I imagine you've probably read at least a little bit about it. We're going to get into that a bit more later on. But first, Kevin, let's have you talk about how you got into crypto.
Sure. So I think like a lot of people, I got into crypto back in mid 2017. I was at dinner with my dad and my brother. We were out with our families and crypto came up, but none of us really quite understood what it was. So that kind of prompted me to go home that night and start reading and learning about crypto. And that was really the beginning for me. And man, ever since that discussion we had during that dinner, crypto has been a major part of my life. I've been absolutely fascinated ever since that discussion. It's definitely stuck with me. It's kind of funny because when I kind of think about it now, prior to that evening, I rarely or never thought about economics or markets or fiat currency, things like that. And, you fast forward to today, I can't imagine a day going by where I don't think about those things. So, yeah, it turned out to be a very eventful discussion for sure.
Yeah, I think something similar, especially with all the learning everyone's had to do on all these DeFi products and things like that. I think even just that process alone has taken a lot of people from not knowing much about finance to possibly being almost experts on financial markets. So just another benefit of crypto.
Yeah, it's like the common thing you hear. You feel like you're drinking from a fire hose, but
Oh yeah.
3-4 years later here, I still feel like it's a fire hose here. So it's kind of cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
Look, agree. I work in finance, but barely knew anything about it. All of a sudden, DeFi came along, and I've taken a huge interest in it, and it's all I talk about. So, agree. The crypto really influences that side of things. So, well, so that's how you got exposure to crypto. How did you get into Icon specifically?
Sure. Yeah. So I got into Icon thanks to a guy named Peter Saddington, who was the lead of. He's actually the lead of one of Icon's newer P Rep teams, Peter Rep. He had a couple years back. He had built a great community back then, known as the Bitcoin Pub, which I really enjoyed at the time because there was so much content and information on there that I thought it was particularly helpful to people that were new to crypto. He was making these YouTube videos and things like that, and I really kind of enjoyed all that stuff that he was making. And he had mentioned Icon in a few of those videos, so it's really thanks to him that Icon kind of fell on my radar. So after that, I basically wound up joining the Icon community, and at the time, being a total noob, I didn't really quite understand how crypto communities worked, and I kind of remember thinking back, I kind of laugh about it now. I was one of those guys that was always just way too triggered by FUD or negativity. So, like if some troll would say something, ridiculous, like Icon is a scam or something like that, for whatever reason, I felt this obligation to respond with like 5 paragraphs, like a wall of text about why Icon is definitely not a scam. And on the contrary, it's one of the best projects out, just something way over the top. Fortunately, since then, my trigger response has been dulled and maybe desensitized a bit, but I think it was actually those responses that got my foot in the door to being a moderator for the Icon communities. There was a community mod at the time named Naxi that reached out to me and asked if I was interested in being a mod. So, yeah, I was really excited about that opportunity and wound up doing that for just about a year, I would say, being a moderator. But, man, I don't think people understand how exhausting that can be. There were nights, it'd be like 3 a.m., and I would need to work the next morning, and I'm sitting there wide awake at 3 a.m. helping some dude in Slovakia with his token swap. So, yeah, after about a year,
and that tradition still goes on to this day. Is
right.
A new wave of people, and Norsk on your team is mostly handling a lot of that now. So he's doing that hero's work. But sorry for interrupting.
He's no, all good, man. He's probably got the record. Him or if you guys remember JB, probably have the record for token swap helps, but. Yeah, I kind of realized about a year in I'm spending more time doing this than I am with my family, so I should probably cut that back a bit, especially since I had just joined Icon Nation at the time, which kept me plenty busy otherwise. So,
yeah, I think there's been kind of a rotating core of mods over the years, just because I think that is the case where it is. A lot of people think modding the Reddit forum is just okay. Whenever there's a bad post, delete it or something like that. But there's a lot of people who message looking for help or having questions and things like that. So a lot of the mod work actually happens really behind the scenes, which I wasn't totally aware of when I signed up to be one. So you learn kind of the hard way on that. And
yeah, I know I did.
Yeah, you were talking about the when you respond to trolls and things like that, and that's kind of something I always go back and forth on, especially on Reddit, because you figure you're not going to change their mind. But you do think about those random people who stumble upon the forum and they see scam, but then they see no response to it or anything like that. And so it's always a tough debate whether or not how much you want to engage with those folks. But I always try to assume that there might be someone potentially new who comes along, and if they see a thought out response, then maybe it makes them believers or it gets them on board. But if they just see a bunch of people saying scam, even if it is trolly, they might get deterred. So it's a tough internal struggle for sure.
Yep, I know exactly what you're talking about.
So why don't you walk us through how Icon Nation came about? Maybe talk about who's involved in that, and I guess has been in over the last couple of years, and just how that came about.
Sure. So, like we were talking about, being a community moderator, I think that's pretty much how I wound up meeting and becoming close with Spleen, Norse Kiwi, CC Club, and the moderating team. There was a day where Spleen had mentioned that he was thinking about starting a P-Rep. I was definitely interested. I figured I might as well kind of raise my hand and volunteer and throw my name in the ring and see what happens. And lucky for me, Spleen did ultimately wind up asking me to join his team, which I'm really thankful for. It's definitely one of the more fortuitous moments in my life for sure. And he also asked a few of the other moderators too, like CC Club, Norse Kiwi, to join, along with a developer that he particularly enjoyed working with. That's Dimitris Franchidakis, who primarily handles our node operations today. So back in the early days, we were kind of discussing what we wanted our team to be about, essentially. And we kind of landed on being a team that had two primary focuses, two areas where we thought we could contribute in a positive way. On one side, there was the community focus. We wanted to be focused on the community in terms of growing it and serving it, in terms of kind of being like a connection point between the community and the foundation. The mod team had a direct line of communication with the foundation members at that time. So we felt that we could really serve as kind of, I guess like a conduit or some sort of connection point, if you will, between the community and the foundation. And then our other focus being on the development related side of things, just kind of working to build tools that would be helpful for developers or anybody that was interested in building on or contributing to the Icon ecosystem in sort of a development capacity, which Spleen has done a really great job with that. No doubt he's been a pillar in the Icon dev community for sure. So I don't think much has changed in terms of our initial scope and goals. We don't really try to stick our nose in areas we don't know much about, like I don't know, like marketing, for example. What I don't know about marketing could fill a book. So I think that basically we're trying to stick to our two primary focuses, and then just kind of trying to be as supportive as we can to other P-Rep teams, whether that be supporting them through the CPS now, or by continuing to try to support ideas that maybe improve the economic disparity between the higher ranked P-Rep teams and the lower ones. We'll certainly try to get involved there if we think there's a positive reason to do so. But I think a lot of that will kind of continue to be sorted out after the 2.0 release. So I guess that's kind of how we got here, and excited to see what the future holds.
Okay, so I want to quickly call out. So a lot of this is core operational aspects of how the Icon network, processes blocks and operates with its P-reps and nodes, which we will cover off in a different episode and deep dive into that to get a bit more clarity, especially to a lot of the new people coming into the Icon ecosystem. But what you explained was great, because you guys have been there from the start, and from what you've covered is worked amongst the community to build that trust and answer those questions for everyone since the birth of Icon, really. So that's been fantastic. Thank you for everything you guys have done there. And I believe we have you have something new to talk about. The announcements have just come out. I should say this is the first exclusive interview you have done. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I'd say that's correct.
Excellent.
Absolutely.
So tell us about the project. What's it called? How did it come about? Keen to hear.
Sure. So Equality we're basically building something called the Equality Exchange, which is it's basically I guess you could say where we're starting. It's a place where you can swap stable coins at, is I guess going to be our starting point. What happened is, back in December, I met with Scott Smiley and Dakey Lee from ICX Station, and we talked about things that Icon Nation and ICX Station were actively working on, and things that we had in the pipeline. So ICX Station had several things they wanted to do, but they didn't really have enough bandwidth to work on all those things at the time, because they had other stuff going on, like Balanced and OMM and a couple other things keeping them busy. So one of the things that came up was figuring out how to utilize maybe some of the people within the community or on P-Rep teams that might have a little bit of availability to help work on those projects that ICX Station had conceptualized. So they asked me if I might be interested in being part of a team to work on one of those ideas that they had, which was the Equality Exchange. So Scott mentioned that he already had a developer with a team interested in working on the development side of things. And then if I was interested, I could kind of focus a little bit more on the like the business and project management side of things, and sort of work to bring the product to market. So that was a big challenge for me. I'm always I always enjoy a challenge, and that's kind of how I learn things, just to just sort of get involved. But um, it became evident very quickly to me that if I was going to be the one designing the tokenomics, that this would not be a very innovative product. It was going to be very copy and paste in nature, which kind of got me to thinking, how can we do better here? How can we do better than what I thought I was kind of the path that I was going down? So obviously we have some really brilliant members within the Icon community, definitely more brilliant than myself when it comes to things like tokenomics. And I kind of started thinking about, is there somebody out there that could bring this project to the next level? And the first name that came to my mind was ICONOGRAPHER. So I'm sure everybody listening to this has probably read his Medium series on DeFi and other Medium series that he's written, along with the stuff he's brought forth with Rhizome. I was just kind of really hoping he'd be interested. So I reached out to him with my fingers crossed, and asked if he'd be willing to jump in and sort of help with things like designing the tokenomics, writing the white paper, some Medium articles and things like that. And fortunately for me and for all of us, really, he was interested in joining the team. And no doubt about it, he's definitely helped to bring the project to the next level and has been great. So I think we're off to a great start. We're currently on schedule with everything. We're on the verge of launching our initial website for people to check out. We've got our white paper is ready to go. Our initial concept for the tokenomics is figured out, you could say. We've got Tom and his crew from the TNTXT PREP team. They are working on a demo version of the exchange.
Tom is formerly Icon Viet.
Yep.
So I imagine people got some familiar with their name, but they did a little bit of a rebrand recently. But he's been around a while too.
Yep, absolutely. And so Tom and his crew, they're working on a demo version of the exchange for people to check out. I'm thinking we'll probably have that ready within the next month or so. We've already begun to formulate our plan for like the audit and things like that when the time comes. So I really think we're doing well. And as of today, we're on schedule. I can't make any promises in terms of when the release will be. We're kind of aiming for Q3 or maybe even sooner. But, with so many variables, it's hard to be definitive with exactly, when that will be at this moment. So what I can say is that we would love to be the first project to launch on Icon 2.0, but we're definitely going to have some competition to earn that title. So it should be an interesting time for Iconists, because I don't think that we are the only project, known or unknown, that is working to be the first to launch on 2.0. So that should be an exciting time.
You mentioned Iconographer is working on this. This is news to me. Holding out on me, Iconographer. Do you want to?
I think there have certainly been some illusions over the last few weeks, and I think we've done a little bit of leaking out there. There was Scott a few weeks ago in one of the Telegram chats had kind of alluded to this project. We alluded to it on the podcast last week as well with Scott. So we've been trying to build a little bit of momentum, but obviously it feels good to have it fully out in the world and open and everything like that. We obviously got the announcement out and the initial Medium article and things like that. But for those who maybe haven't had the time to do a deep dive, or maybe they start their week by listening to this podcast or something like that, we figure we just kind of go in a little bit more depth about the project and kind of how it works, and hopefully walk some folks through it. And so depends on how familiar you are with DeFi protocols and things like that. But I imagine if you follow things somewhat, you've probably heard of something called Curve. Curve exists on Ethereum, of course, and it as Kevin mentioned, it is designed for trading stablecoins. And you might be thinking, well, that sounds kind of boring. And also, why would I need to trade stablecoins? And also, can't we already do that on, say, once these stablecoins are available? And the two that'll probably be the most prominent from the get-go will be the bridge dollars, as well as the balance dollars, which are generated by the balance protocol. Wouldn't we be able to trade those on the DEX on balanced, or maybe through U-Trade or something like that? And the answer is possibly, but the problem is those charge they charge trading fees. And they also tend to have slippage, meaning that if you buy if there's not a lot of liquidity and you buy a good chunk of those tokens, that if you're trading $1 for $1, but you trade $1 and you get 98 cents back, that you lose some utility there. So basically, the way equality is set up is that the key benefits is basically there's very, very low transaction fees. It's only about 0.04%. There's also an administrative fee, which we'll go into a little bit later, which is 0.02 or 0.02%. So 0.06% total, which is a pretty insignificant transaction fee. It's essentially what Curve also charges. In addition to that, based on how the formula works, there is very, very little slippage between the prices. So, if you're trading a dollar for a dollar, you're going to get a dollar back, even no matter how much you buy, basically, unless it's a crazy significant amount. But it's very, very hard to see slippage on based on the way this protocol is designed. So, that's kind of the key benefit of it, as far as kind of the average everyday Iconis goes. But on the other side of it, there's other benefits for those who actually hold stable coins and want to get a bit more return on those. And by providing liquidity into Equality, not only do you get a slice of the transaction fees that happen, which is fairly standard in automated market makers, but what we also do is we will set up the protocol to where we're going to have a large pile within the protocol itself. There'll be a large pile of tokens, stable coins. What the protocol will do is automatically utilize OMM, the open money market, and lend those out and earn interest on them. So essentially, it's almost a mini savings account to a certain extent, where you're also earning transaction fees.
Okay, so there's a lot there. Let's pause, and I really love this last part, and I want to break that down further. But taking it back, a quick summary: it is essentially an exchange that is designed to swap like for like assets. So variations of stablecoins, but not limited to stablecoins. It could eventually roll into like for like BTC, wrap BTC, BN BTC that gets minted from balance potentially.
Something like that. Yep.
Yep. Excellent. Okay, so that's at its core what it does, and it is very much superior in the sense of saving fees based on transfers for like assets, where you would use, say, something like Balance or Unify to do it. You would actually pay a little bit more in fees because that's how that AMM is designed. Whereas Equality, it is designed to charge less of a fee in that way, so that you're always, your trade is always ending out as even Steven as it can get. Would that be
exactly?
Okay, excellent.
Yeah.
Now,
so there's not a lot chopped off the top in terms of the fee for using the service, but also too, if you go to trade, say you go to U-Trade right now, you want to buy a 1,000 ICX worth of tap, for instance, right? The price that you're paying on that first tap is going to be lower than the price you're paying on the 1,000th tap, just based on the way that the price is calculated on that, based on how their formula works. And that works great for that type of model, but it obviously doesn't work as well for stablecoin. So to know that you're going to pay a very, very minimal fee for transacting, but also know that, even if you buy a good chunk, the price that you pay for $1 is not going to vary much, and probably at all beyond $1. So that's the other benefit of it as well.
Okay. So, you right at the end, you made mention, and I wanted to spend a bit of time on this. What's this about? So traditionally, the way this operates is essentially users like me can go in with my stablecoin and add liquidity to a pair. The great part about this is you don't have to worry about impermanent loss because it's stablecoin on either side. You'll just end up with more of the either when you withdraw your liquidity, which is one for one. What you did mention though is OMM, and how could you give a bit more of a breakdown on how all those pieces fall together, these money Legos come together?
Yeah, so the smart contract that Equality will run on, it's gonna have the fund that manages the pools themselves. But what it'll do is it'll interact with OMM in order to put those tokens, or a fairly good proportion of them, on the OMM platform and lend them out to other Iconists who would like to use OMM. So, just as you or I could decide one day, hey, I've got 100 stable coins running on Icon sitting here. They're doing nothing for me. I'm going to go to OMM and loan them out for an interest rate. Maybe it's 1%, maybe it's 5%. We don't really know yet. What this do, instead of you having to do that, instead you could just say, okay, I'm just going to deposit my $100 into Equality instead, knowing that Equality on the back end is going to deposit those $100 into OMM. So I'll earn interest, whatever OMM's paying. But in addition to that, I'm also going to be earning a slice of the transaction fees that are occurring on equality as well. So it's dual bet. Not only are you no longer just sitting on $100 that's doing nothing, but you're getting interest on it and you're getting a slice of transaction fee. So it's a really, really great way to make your money work hard for you while you're essentially doing nothing. So just another way the Icon network can give you a return on your investment.
So this is version 1. This is how it'll work from the get-go.
Yeah, that's the plan. And this is this is essentially the same way Curve operates. A good chunk of its pools, it has a number of pools just based on the vast number of tokens that are on the Ethereum network. And so they have one that connects to Compound, they have one that connects to Yearn. So I could see down the road as more potential lending protocols may emerge on Icon, and as more IRC2 tokens emerge that have that should trade against each other at a similar price, whether they're stable coins or wrapped assets that should be trading at a similar price. There'll be more and more pools and more places you can put those tokens moving forward. So if you want a kind of a preview of how things might look in the future, there's a few YouTube videos that show how Curve works, and you can get a good sense and just kind of figure that at some point we would hope to replicate that sort of success and those sort of options for Iconis.
So Kevin, the UI perspective, please tell me we're going down not that retro curve style.
Yeah, we had several conversations about that. We're definitely not going with the retro look. We're working on something that looks a little bit newer.
Excellent.
Or I would say a lot of it newer, but
Good to hear.
yeah, already I think Curve doesn't do itself too many favors because they have made it's complicated. It's a complicated concept, and I think their UI to a certain extent makes it even more complicated and potentially turns off some users. Maybe I'm wrong about that.
No, I think you're right.
Maybe everyone's nostalgic and really loves that interface, but yeah,
it does seem polarizing. I swear, if you were to ask 10 people, you'd probably find 1 or 2 that love it, and then 8 or 9 that are not big fans.
And I imagine that some of that's tied into age demographic as well, as far as there's probably a correlation there.
Look, I think when it launched, the look of it was cool. I know at first glance when I tried to interact with it, I stayed away. I only interact with Curve through Zapper. Otherwise, I refuse to touch it. I go in there, just get lost. Yeah, that's why I made the comment about the UI. Like, it's an amazing protocol, Curve, but I just so it's good to hear. Good to hear we're not taking that approach.
Yeah, we're moving. I would say we're moving in a direction where it's very, very modern, very polished, and I think most importantly, very easy to use and understand.
Yep. I'm showing my age a little bit. I kind of think it's cool, but in terms of being user friendly, it is a little bit more complex. I think the design we're working on will be a little bit more user friendly, a little bit nicer of a UI. So excited about that. But yeah, I guess I'm showing my age a little bit. I think that retro look is kind of cool, but I think you guys are right. I think more people don't. So.
Oh, look, it's a cool look, just usability-wise.
I always kind of thought that they would change it at some point, like they were just kind of messing around, or we're just doing this for a few weeks, but they're sticking with it.
But even there's a few others out there. Even Badger's one, it's doing a lot, but that UI is very retro, and I find it hard to follow. Looks cool, but yeah. Okay. Back to this. So, great. We've gotten a few examples now. Why would somebody want to use this?
Well, I think, the most basic utility is I want to trade one stablecoin for another stablecoin. And again, you might kind of think, well, why? But let's say bridge dollars are earning 5% on OMM, and balance dollars, for whatever reason, are earning 3%, right? If you're holding balance dollars earning only 3%, you might say, shoot, I'm just going to hop over to bridge dollars and get 5% on them, even knowing that $1 is $1. So being able to have a place where you can do that very easily without losing really any value whatsoever, I think that alone is a pretty simple use case that I think a lot of people potentially take advantage of. There's other potential situations where you need to or want to switch from one stablecoin to another, especially as interoperability kicks off, and we might start seeing more stable coins flow in from other protocols and things like that. We already have Orbit Bridge that can theoretically do that, so that could be another stable coin that you'd want to switch in and out of very easily and with minimal friction. So there's that aspect of it. I think on the, for liquidity providers, there's a lot of incentives there too. Obviously, kind of what I mentioned between the transaction fees and the additional interest. It sort of becomes, you don't really even need to worry about using OMM. You can just use equality. Now, at the end of the day, you're still using OMM and you're still using that protocol and everything like that. So it's kind of a win-win in that situation. And we haven't mentioned yet and I think people would have hoped and assumed this, but there will be equality tokens, which from the get-go will provide governance rights. That can obviously, what those tokens do can be changed by the community over time. And I imagine some sort of proposals to potentially, change what those tokens can provide and offer might change. But from the get-go, people who provide liquidity will get a slice of ownership over the protocol and tokens that provide governance rights. So that's certainly a nice incentive as well.
I do have a few more questions about the tokens, but I'm going to pause there. Kevin, from your point of view, how many people are in the team currently that are helping make this a reality?
So there's ICONOGRAPHER, there's myself, and then we've got Tom from the TNTXT rep team, formerly Icon Viet, and then he's got a group of guys that he works with as his development team as well. I believe he's got 3 or 4.
Okay,
and Scott is also contributing as well.
Oh yeah,
he's providing a lot of kind of bigger picture consulting. He's done a couple of these now, so he knows kind of what to look out for, and he's certainly been helpful as well.
Oh, he's been huge. Yeah, he's Scott Smiley from ICX Station has essentially been our consultant through the whole thing, and man, he's a terrific help. He's a huge help.
As we go through and have few interviews, this is one point that comes out, and I don't think a lot of people realize just how much Scott gets involved in coordinating or putting the right people together to make something a reality. And again, this is another a protocol that's just an example of that, making sure getting the right people in the room so that a project can take off. Yeah, big kudos out there.
Yeah, I do not think we are the only team working on a project that obviously it's known now, but it was unknown previously. I do not think we are the only team that he's assembled to work on something like this. I think there are a few others.
So your team obviously is quite branched out. Everyone's not located in the same same country, state, area. Would that be fair to say?
Yeah, in fact, Tom and I are on exact opposite sides of the world. We're exactly 12 hours apart, so...
and there's a reason I'm asking this, because I think the everyday person doesn't realize or isn't aware just how different this style of creating anything in the crypto space works. It's not your traditional everyone sit together, nut out, and work towards delivering a project. It is a global coordination that needs to happen, and accommodating time zones. I know just setting up interviews for the podcast is challenging, making sure from this end of the world to that end of the world. So how has that experience been for this project and in general?
I think it's worked out well. I think we did find a time that's pretty convenient for all of us. We usually meet a couple days a week, usually around 9 p.m. my time, 6 p.m. Iconographer's time, and it'd be 9 a.m. Tom's time. It's kind of funny because it's towards the end of my day, and when our meetings are concluding, I'm getting ready to go to bed, and Tom is just getting out of it, and I see he's getting his morning coffee and stuff like that. So it's kind of interesting. We are on, like you said, completely different time zones. So but for the most part, we've been able to coordinate pretty well. We haven't had any sort of, we've had an occasion here or there where somebody couldn't make a meeting for whatever particular reason, but it hasn't been all that bad.
Good. Okay, so it works. Excellent. So coming back to the tokens that you touched on, one question I did have. So you automate. You don't need to use OMM. You can just go into equality, add your liquidity, and you're benefiting from the interest that gets lent out. What about you're earning as well? I'm guessing the equality token. And what about the OMM token though? What happens there?
So we're actually still trying to, we're aware of that situation, and obviously OMM is going to send OMM tokens back to the protocol in some way, shape, or form. So we're we still haven't had that conversation yet in terms of figuring out exactly what to do with those. Our kind of ethos is that, because it's the funds of the liquidity providers, they're the ones who, I think there's certainly a case to be made that there's an entitlement there. So we I would assume potentially, and again, I don't want to nail anything down, give any promises, that we would try to deliver those back in some way, shape, or form as far as the value is concerned. But we haven't figured that detail out yet. But obviously, we want to have that resolved prior to the launch.
Okay, great. Yes, that was a sneaky question. I just thought off as I was, being told about the project. But yeah, it's great that a user could potentially use the platform and not forego any of the rewards of the other platforms that it's coordinating with. So connecting with. Okay, that's great. So, is there anything else, Kevin, Iconographer, you want to cover off as part of this piece?
I think, I think another useful point is that, stablecoins are nice because they're fairly risk free in the sense that the price is going to be pretty reliably at $1. That being said, sometimes stablecoins have issues. Everyone was freaking out about Tether for however long. Not sure if it was fake or not. So if Tether were to go down, then all of a sudden, if you're holding Tether, what's the deal? So for those who are, maybe they feel like, oh, if I like holding stablecoins, but if I was diversified a bit more, I'd feel a little bit better about it. If you're depositing liquidity into Equality, you're essentially giving yourself exposure to whatever stable coins are in that pool. So from the get-go, it'll likely just be bridge dollars and balance dollars. But down the road, there might be pools with 3 or 4 or maybe more stable coins. So it kind of gives you exposure to a whole basket of stable coins, so you can feel a bit better and be a bit more diversified in your stable coin holdings. As exciting as they might be, but I think that is something that's important for people and could give them a bit more comfort as well.
Excellent. Kevin, what about yourself?
Nothing in particular. I'm just kind of excited for Icon and for Iconist, in the sense that we kind of get to see the ecosystem expanding here and to see all of the things that we've seen on other platforms coming to Icon with a couple of new twists that are hopefully appealing to users and things that will, just sort of make the ecosystem a little bit more robust. It's good to see that.
Yep, agree. I think always one of the points I take away is, it started on ETH. Yes, great. Protocols have made mistakes. They've implemented learnings, and we're creating stuff on Icon where we've seen those mistakes, seen those learnings, and kind of put our own vision into it through, the unique nature of our protocol, which enables the staking aspect, etc. Which is fantastic. That's why I'm very excited about all the DeFi stuff coming to Icon.
Yeah, it's nice. It's like you said, when you get to see, I don't know if I would necessarily call them mistakes because you kind of figure out things as you go, but you get to sort of see things evolve. Like we've been able to watch Curve evolve on Ethereum a little bit in terms of, governance decisions that they've made. Maybe they started off here and wound up, they start off at point A and wind up at point B. It's kind of nice. We're starting our project a little later, so we can start right at point C even. So that's definitely advantageous.
Yeah, I think I have flashbacks back to mid to late 2018, even into 2019, when there was really not a whole lot going on. We were kind of living and dying by, hopefully there's some more good news about a partnership this week or something like that. And usually there would be, fortunately. So there was certainly a good amount of stuff to talk about and things like that. But, at the time, even with that, it still felt there was stuff kind of happening, and we started getting, there was hackathons and, Icon Bet kind of popped up, so you could see some initial traction. And again, at the time, it felt kind of busy, but looking back now, especially with everything that's going on now, and it's getting really, really hard to track. Those are kind of, in retrospect, those were kind of sleepy times, but I also kind of look back on with fondness, and I'm sure Kevin remembers them, and I can't remember how long ago you got into things, Fez, but it is nice to see how everything's kind of evolved in a couple of years. Some people might say it's a long time. I'd say it's relatively short time, but it is nice to see one way or another.
Look, agree. I think what is coming to light is the building has been happening. It's just probably not been as vocal. I think you're right. Iconographer, the earlier part, it was news all about the partnerships, the corporate side, all that aspects, very much not a lot around what's externally getting built out, by anyone and everyone. And what we're seeing this year is all that work that's been happening in the background. It's getting announced, and all the critical pieces. For example, DeFi is a huge focus, and everything that is really needed for the DeFi money Legos has been in the works and is coming in the next 3 months. So yeah, it is very exciting, and can't wait for all of it to be out. And when the NFT market comes out, which is all the rage at the moment, it's great news.
And that doesn't even include all the unannounced projects that are alluded to from time to time by either Ricky or Kevin just now, and other people prominent in the community.
Yep. Okay. Well, I think that's a great overview of the protocol that is going to be coming. And look, I just want to close it off as well by giving, we focused on these stable coins, but the way this protocol can grow, because it's like for like, and I gave an example of this before. So it is, your two stable coins that are launching with OMM and Balanced, and then we will have potentially what BTP enables. And there's a lot of strong hints from Scott and co that with the launch of Icon 2.0, they will have connections to other blockchains that will enable, I'm guessing, a raft of stable coins, I hope. So that itself can and will get integrated, I'm hoping, into this equality, into the protocol. Would that be a fair assumption?
Yeah, I think it's kind of an open slate as far as what we can do. And as Icon 2.0, I don't know a whole lot about development, but Tom's pretty psyched about it, and says it's the real deal. So I don't know where the line of possibilities ends, but I haven't, as far as I can tell in the conversations we haven't come anywhere close to it yet. So I think it's, the sky's wide open as far as I can tell.
Excellent. Okay. Well, Kevin, it has been a pleasure having you on the show. Thank you for joining us.
Likewise, Fez, great to meet you, man. I'm a big fan of Icon Plus and everything you guys do, and appreciate you on the show. And Iconographer, I'll see you at our next meeting. Cheers, guys.
Sounds good.
Appreciate it. Thanks, guys. Chat soon. And there you go. Iconographer. You were great. Didn't have stage fright, nothing. Well done.
Yeah, I've done this a couple times now, so that certainly helps.
Yeah, look, it is. I am so glad we got the little exclusive, and it is a great project that the ecosystem, every thriving DeFi ecosystem needs. So, equality. How'd the name come about? Who thought of the name?
I can't quite remember the genesis of that. I think it was kind of formulated right before I formally stepped in. So I think Kevin or AKA Radiofriendly was a bit of the lead on that, but I can't say for sure.
Okay, I surprised you with that question post interview.
That's all right.
Cool. Well, anything else, Iconographer? Any takeaways you wanted to call out?
Well, I think I think everyone who has read about it or has been interested about it is probably already following us on the social channels. Us meaning the Equality Project. And if not, if you have questions or anything like that, feel free to hop in our Telegram channel, which we'll link to in the show notes. We hope to be pretty active in there, and I imagine there'll be a lot of questions, especially these first couple of days after the announcement. So feel free to hop in there and start the discussion. And also, hopefully there'll be some patience as well. These things are difficult to develop and they take a little bit of time. So I imagine, every week people will be asking when the release is, but should be later this year, assuming all things go right. But we want to make sure we're building a really secure, reliable product. And so we're going to default to that rather than getting it out as soon as possible. But the good news is by that time, there should be, multiple other DeFi products that Iconists can play around with and enjoy and everything like that. So it'll just be it'll be a cherry on top as far as the DeFi products are concerned. And that doesn't include, whatever else might be in the works and unannounced as well.
True. Now, as always, there's not financial advice. Make sure you do your own research and everything you use. We're just here to share our views and educate in any way we can. Thank you so much for listening. If you like what we're doing here, make sure you subscribe and follow us on all the podcasting channels and share this around. The more we can get this out, the more we can get listeners and hopefully devs to come and keep joining our ecosystem and help build. Once again, thank you for tuning in.
Thanks.
Take care.